we got to talk about Texas. And Texas put some great things on tape this past weekend when they played Alabama. Got up for Alabama, right? Game day was there, big noon kickoff was there, a ton of excitement, a ton of buzz. But now the dust has settled. Those pregame shows have moved on to greener pastures, taking on whatever week 3 has in store for them. And the noise around this Texas program, maybe even the eyeballs in terms of the national stage, has sort of drifted elsewhere. And so for Texas, what are you going to do next? Had a great showing against Alabama. Threw some great punches. I mean, you lost the game by 1 point when the spread was 20. It's hard to be upset at that effort. 2 things to do now. 2 things that could happen, I should say. The first for Texas is you can say, okay, we threw our best punch. Let's take a load off, boys. Let's sort of take a break here now. Good effort, good showing. Let's catch our wind a little bit and relax. We've proved a point. Let's relax. Or you can say, a lot of good things on tape, a lot of good things we did well. I think we proved a lot of things that we thought we could do on the field. We validated some of those, even with the dinged-up quarterback situation. Let's build on that. Foot on the gas. Like Steve Sarkisian says, all gas, no brakes. We're going to keep this thing pushing in the right direction. What does Texas do? Because they are very clearly at a crossroads as a program right now. I think how they respond in week 3 after this Alabama game is going to be the most telling of the development of Texas going forward. Where is that culture at? Because that's consistently the question around Austin. What's the Texas culture like? What's it like in that locker room? What's it like in that coaching staff? What's the attitude? What's the character like? Did they truly get an exodus of those players that were bad apples, more or less, via the Bo Davis rant, other things to sort of get them out of town, or is it still a work in progress? I think the UTSA game will tell us a lot. Because the great teams, the teams that play really meaningful games in early January, their focus, their intentions, their intensity even more so, isn't dictated by a logo across from them. It doesn't matter if you have FCS West across from you or the Alabama Crimson Tide, we're bringing our A game. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. The external circumstances don't play into how we play. We're showing up against a faceless opponent every single week. That's what the great ones do. And so now for Texas, you had Alabama across from you last week. Gave them a great showing. Gave your best shot. Nobody is scoffing at what Texas did in a loss last week. Now UTSA comes to town. The logo, no knock on the Roadrunners, it's a little bit different than that script A. Has a little bit less excitement around it. There's no college game day in town this weekend. I don't know what the attendance is going to be like in DKR, but I would imagine that there's going to be a little bit less of a crowd this coming week for that game. What do you do for an on-car? In addition to that, the locker room, like we talked about, a little bit dinged up. We're not going to speculate too much on these injuries, but Texas will not be at full strength. Is that an excuse, or is that flame to the fire? Is that going to cause them to lock arms, rally together, and say, okay, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball in terms of our health right now? Is that an excuse for us to not play our best against UTSA, or do we have to give a superhuman effort within this locker room and, like we said, circle the wagons, bring your best energy, bring your best self to find a way to compensate that? Because anytime you have injury, you have a chance for other guys to step up within your program. So we see depth, we see character, and I think we see culture exposed for the good or for the bad for Texas this upcoming weekend against UTSA. But I, for one, can't wait to see it. Because we've been waiting on Texas for a while now. We've been waiting on them to eventually get to this point to where they are consistent week in and week out. Because we saw them put a great performance last year against Oklahoma. We saw them take them to the wire. You left that game saying, lost the game. They lost the game, but they put up a really strong fight. Texas is going to be okay the rest of the way. That's what we were saying after that game. Ended up missing a bowl game. Okay? So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited to see how Texas answers the call for week 3 of the college football season. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.